But there is a divine creation that puts His name, His goal, not as subjective. That's also true what we said about the subjective, the nation see, and how we'll see these two parallel understandings, but there's the objective and the subjective. They're both true. But here we're talking about now the objective level of the name of God that is revealed in the world through the Jewish people. Atem Eidah, you are my testimony. You are my witnesses. So what happens to Am Yisrael in the world is an expression, enables the revealing, the objective revealing of that divine content. But there are conditions for its fully being expressed. Like we said, we have free will. We can cover it, we can negate it, we can live our lives in the, how do you say it, ignoring our true essence, not living up to it. But ultimately the expression of that divine ideal of Shem Hashem, what's called Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of His name, the conditions, we'll see, are the nation of Israel, independent in the land of Israel. Very simple. Those are the conditions that enable the full flow, the full expression, manifestation of that divine, supernal, transcending ideal in the actuality, in this world. The nation of Israel as a nation, independent, not just Jews living here under foreign rule. We had that for a while, a long time. But the Jewish independence in the land of Israel. Not Jewish independent in Uganda or another flag on some island, but the Jewish people in the land of Israel, when they're together, that is the receptacle. That is the divinely created conduit. Because if it was up to us, the Jews, the majority, as you know, historically voted for Uganda. The Zionist Congress, whatever. Meanwhile, let's take Uganda. But ultimately, that's not how the hand of God doesn't work. It doesn't go by what we think. There's a divine guidance of history. But it's not like if we agree on one other place. There's enough Jews in New York and Vilna. That'll be the Jewish nation. That won't be the receptacle. You decide that Tuesday is a nice time to put on a white shirt, have cholent, make Kiddush. Shabbat. Friday, Shabbat, I'm busy. Saturday. On Tuesday, I'll eat the cholent and have a whole Shabbat meal, and we'll make Shabbat on Tuesday. You could do what you want, but that won't create the objective entity, the essence, then the extra neshama that comes down on Shabbat is just in time. In time, there is a infusion, there is an intersection, so to speak, of that divine content in this world, in time, in place, and in people. The rabbis explain, Ashan, Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh, these three dimensions. So in place, we're talking about now, there's a place that is created with this talent, the Holy Land. It's land. It looks like other places. You can switch it, swap it. Well, other places are nice, good climate, whatever. That won't change reality. The Eretz Yisrael is a unique, divinely created content. And when this nation that I've created unto me goes into this land that I've created unto me, that is the conduit, the vessel that receives and expresses this divine name objectively. And therefore, we understand a little bit deeper why the Galut is a desecration of God's name. The Galut, the exile by itself, in and of itself, constitutes a destruction of the national framework. There is no nation in the land. The Jewish people are just fractured. I will scatter them among the nations into which they come, and you will desecrate my holy name by being amongst the nations. That itself is the Chilul Hashem. God's name, God's ideal, is withheld from its full expression. Every Jew that does a commandment is a Kiddush Hashem, brings down divine light to the world, but there's no comparison when this full nation of God brings down the big name, right? What does it say here? I will have mercy, or you will desecrate my Shem Kochi, my holy name. I will have mercy on my holy name. I'll bring you back to the land. Why? For my holy name. And I will sanctify my big name. Here is always this big name, my holy name. There's little names, so to speak, the little aspects of the divine. Every commandment, everything you do all over the world is good, is holy, adds the sparks of light to the world. But a nation, this full conduit, not like a person that is a giant who is broken up in the hospital, right? Our metaphor of a limb here, a limb there, on the kidney machine, the heart machine, everything is resuscitated. But he's alive, no? It's all there. It's all over the hospital, every piece of him. But giving the full name of God, the big name of God, of a nation, independent in the land of Israel, that is the full conduit that reveals the full name. And therefore the exile, by definition, is the inability for that holy name of God, that big name, that total ideal of creation, to be revealed. And therefore not just the suffering the Jewish people are in exile, even if it's a luxurious exile. You manage in Baltimore, right? It wasn't so bad. You can make a living. No. Or all over the world, people can. But that's not the question here, if it's physically good or not, even spiritually. Get kosher food. We mentioned that article, right? From the Los Angeles Times. Nothing Orthodox Jew needs, it isn't here. Kosher food, kosher pizza, kosher deli, everything. Mikveh, what? But the name of God, what's suffering is the name of God. In other words, the world is suffering. The world is now lacking that full infusion of divine good, of light, of energy, of holiness that permeates man's all existence. His whole revolution of his thinking, of his orientations, his motivations, his drive. What drives man? We see what drives people today. And the world is ready now for the nation of Israel to come back to the land, to now infuse, to have this heart of the nations, to now give life, healthy, normal life to all the limbs. And then you'll see what a different world we live in. That's what it'll be, right? The nations will come up to Yerushalayim in chapters 2 in Yeshayahu. And they're from, right? Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Dvar Hashem Yerushalayim, the word of God from Yerushalayim. And then they will flow this life, and then they'll beat their swords into plowshares. Then there'll be normalcy in health. And how can you want to kill? All these swords will be... How can you even have a sword? How can you want to hurt other people, kill other people? Instead, just for conquering other land, conquering... But that all depends on the Jewish people back in the land. The exile holds up all that. The impossibility of the full expression of the divine name, that absolute ideal. That's what exile is.